Hi everybody, my name is Zoe and I work at a national charity called the Reading Agency, which tackles life's big challenges through the proven power of reading. And we're so excited to welcome you to this virtual event with writer and illustrator extraordinaires, Andy Jones and Olaf Falafel. Andy and Olaf will be talking to you about their book called Unleash Your Creative Monster and showing you some tips and tricks for writing and illustrating your own fantastic stories. Before we start, I'll introduce our two brilliant guests. So Andy Jones is the author of 5 novels for adults and 2 picture books for young readers. He's currently working on 2 new novels, so look out for a genie, a dog thief, time travel and zombies in those. And then we have Olaf Falafel, who is a comedian and illustrator. When he doesn't have a microphone in his hand, you'll probably find him with a pencil and pad trying to draw something equally silly. Olaf also hosts a successful art club on his YouTube channel, teaching viewers all about different art movements and encouraging them to get creating. So without further ado, I'm delighted to hand over to Andy, who is going to kick off this morning's event.
Morning, everybody. I hope you are well. I am going to share my screen.
Morning, Andy.
Morning, Olaf. How are you?
Yeah, good. It might look like we're in different rooms, but we can pass the book to each other. Here you go, Andy. Have this book. I'll just pass it to you.
We've been working on this. Thank you.
Look at that, seamless.
That is great. I'm so pleased. Here, take it back because I've actually got one of my own. There you go.
Look at that.
Right, everybody. Let's talk about books and stories and creative monstering. Can I just check, Zoe, are we looking at my presentation?
We are.
That's good to know.
I can see it.
Great stuff. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I mean, Zoe has already introduced us, but as she said, I'm the author of 5 novels for adults. And what you'll see on the edge of the screen there is my first novel for children, which is called Wishes Come in Threes, and that's out next summer. I'm also a father of 2 little monsters. You can see them here, Ruby and Evie. And a couple of years ago, do you know what? This is tickling my ear. I'm going to take it off. A couple of years ago, my daughters were at home. There was an inset day at school, which I know that children love because they get to not go to school. But for parents, it means you've got to entertain your children. So I gave them a story prompt. I asked them to write a story that began with the words, "It was the day I almost drowned." And to my complete amazement, they were thoroughly absorbed in the challenge and they wrote for half an hour. And then when they'd finished, they asked for another one. And I thought, do you know what? I think I could write a book full of story prompts. And then it evolved into a book full of story prompts and tips and advice about writing. It contains some stuff that you will have done in school, like metaphors and similes, some things that you maybe haven't looked at before, like the importance of struggles and problems and goals, how to make your readers feel what your characters are feeling. It's got crazy story prompts, like The Day It Rained Frogs, and Olaf's particular favorite tip, bum glue, which is something that we use to help ourselves stay sitting in our chair when we need to write. So I hope it looks like fun. I can't take credit for all of the wicked pictures in there. They were all drawn by my friend and partner, Olaf, and he's going to tell you a bit about himself now.
Hello. Yeah, cheers, Andy. So that's me there. I drew that picture of me with a couple of the monsters from the book. And this is a screen really to tell you that I've got loads of jobs. I've got 6 there, and I've probably got a few more since I drew that slide. So I'm an author, an illustrator, a dad, a comedian, a football coach, and the host of Art Club. And if we go at the next one, you can see some of the books that I've done. And there are a couple of books in this slide that I'm still working on or are going to be out next year. So those top 3 are Old MacDonald Heard a Fart, Father Christmas Heard a Fart. Actually, in this country, it's Parp. I don't know if you can see. And if you buy it in America or New Zealand or Australia, it's Fart, because I don't know. But there's a book there called Blobfish, which will be out next summer. It's all about a sad, lonely blobfish who has no friends. And then there's another book that's my first ever chapter book, and it's kind of similar to Wimpy Kid in that there's lots of cartoons in it. I'm about 2/3 of the way through drawing all the cartoons, and that is about a girl who uses the power of art to get back at bullies. And sometimes she messes up, and sometimes it actually works. And that should be quite fun. It's called Trixie Pickle Art Avenger. And if we go to the next slide, you can see that I am also a dad. I've got 2 daughters. That one who is letting me borrow her hair there, she's now year 8, so she's 12, and the other one is year 10, and she's actually just gone back to school today after having to self-isolate for 10 days, so she's really happy about going back to school. What else did I tell you I was? I was a comedian. Here you go, here's a joke for you. What's white and fluffy and sounds like an owl? A towel. I mean, some of my jokes are better than that. Don't worry, they do get better, but that's a sample for you. I ask kids if they know what a comedian is when I go into schools. And a lot of them know what a comedian is. But one of my funniest ones, I asked the kids, do you know what a comedian is? And there was a little boy at the front who was putting his hand up. He was doing the flappy hand thing because he really wanted to answer the question. So I said, okay, little boy at the front there with the flappy hand, what is a comedian? And he said, it's one of those lizards that changes color to fit in with its background. I was like, close, but that's a chameleon. There you go. So I am a comedian. I get up on stage and I make people laugh. And one of my other jobs, if we click onto the next slide, I'm a football coach. I coach my eldest daughter's football team. We've actually got training tonight, which will be fun. It's always on a Wednesday. And then I'm the host of Art Club, where we taught kids online during lockdown all about different art things, but we tried to make it fun. So it was like Horrible Histories is history but fun. Art Club was art but fun. Hopefully some of you may have watched it and may have enjoyed it, and fingers crossed I'll be making a book that has got lots of art, how to do stuff, tutorial things, that's the word, tutorials in it. Last but not least, I'm an illustrator, and I've done all of the pictures in this wonderful book that we're going to talk to you about. And like Andy said, my favorite bit was the stuck bum bit. Now, Andy had written a brilliant story prompt about stuck bums, and he needed a little drawing to go with it that was the day my bum got stuck. And this is what I did. I did a monster looking at a hole in a fence, and he's saying, I wonder if my bum will fit in that hole, which is obviously the natural response to seeing a hole in a fence. And in the next panel, he's saying, oh no, my bum is stuck. And then in the third panel, I don't know if you can see, there's another monster with a red hand who is drawing a face, a little moustache, a little tiny hat and some eyes on the blue monster's bum. And then in the final panel of the cartoon, there's a mole whose eyesight isn't particularly good, is having a little chat with the bum, and he's saying, oh, and Janet insists there's a Lost in City nearby, but I think that's just Janet being Janet. Anyway, it's been a lovely chatting with you. So that is my favorite drawing in the book, but there's loads of really funny drawings, and there's loads of really good writing tips. And I'm going to hand you back to Andy, and he's going to tell you all about it.
Thank you, Olaf. So now you know all about me and all about Olaf, but I think I know what you're thinking. What's all this about monsters, right? You didn't come here to listen to us, you came here to hear about monsters. Well, to answer the question, we're going to have to go back in time several thousand years, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13,000 years to ancient Greece. The ancient Greeks believed in all kinds of gods and goddesses, gods of love and war and also creativity. They believed in 9 goddesses in particular that they called the Muses. And they were said to inspire authors and poets and musicians to come up with their best creative work. But I don't know about you, but I don't really relate to that lady. That she seems a little bit old, a little bit dusty. So instead of a muse, I like to think of myself as having a creative monster, the thing that inspires me and helps me to do my best work. And the good news is you all have a creative monster inside you. It might be small and a little bit shy at the moment. Maybe you haven't met it, but trust me, it's there. And if you continue to be creative, to draw, to make things, to write, then your creative monster will grow and will support you. One of the best ways to get to know your creative monster is to draw it. And Olaf is going to help us do that now. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, hand over to Olaf, and he's going to talk to us about drawing. So are you in control, Olaf?
I think I'm in control. We'll see in a minute. I've got a little, I don't know if you can see it, a little tripod thing there, and I'm going to attach this camera into that. So hopefully you'll be able to see, if I flip my camera around, you should be able to see my lovely pink pad. I mean, it's a colored pad. Let me clip me in there, and I'll just lower it down a bit so we can get nice and close. Yeah, like Andy said, it is great if you can come up with your own creative monster. And if we look through this book, there are literally tons. I must have drew hundreds of different monsters for this book, and it was really fun creating all of them. And if we look right at the front, you can see there's Andy's two daughters, and they came up with their own monsters, and I kind of interpreted them and drew them in the book. So you can see them there. One of them licks all of the words out of books, and it's got all these letters on its stomach, and it's kind of a bit like jelly with a big blue tongue. And the other one is almost like a kind of a penguin monster, and whispers helpful hints in their ears when they're stuck. So that's really fun. But you make up your own monsters. But what I'm going to do for you now quickly is draw one of the monsters from the book. Let me just see if I can get this down a bit lower. I might have to hold it up a bit. One of the monsters from the book, and it's one of my favorites. It's a little tiny shy monster that I call Nikki. Now, Nikki is based on an item of food. I don't know whether it's a vegetable or not. You might have to help me out here, but oh no, I've picked up the wrong pen. That's not a good start. Luckily, I've got another one here. So see if you can guess. Oh, this pen's looking a bit runny out as well. See if you can guess what item of food this is. I mean, I'll open it up to Andy. Andy, I don't know whether I've asked you this before. Do you know what item of food that is?
You know, at first I thought it was a lollipop, but now I'm thinking, is it a mushroom?
It is a mushroom. I can see Mrs. Baldock. It flashed up there. Mrs. Baldock and her class, they guessed it was a mushroom. So yeah, this monster is based on a mushroom. I can't get this any lower. Oh, is that a bit lower? And Nikki has got 3 eyes. So there's an eye in the middle here, and then there's an eye down here, and then there's an eye here. If you are following along at home, that would be great. But if you're not at home, at school, if you're at home, if you're following along, wherever you are. So I do these eyes. My daughter's like kawaii and anime and that kind of stuff. And the way I do the eyes is I draw another circle. I'm holding this underneath with my hand, so it's a bit shaky. And then in that circle, I draw a circle there, and then a circle there. And then I fill in the outside bits, and it kind of gives nice big highlights on the eyes. Can you see that? And it makes it quite cute. And then I also put an eyebrow over the top of the eye. And I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to put this down and repeat that with the other eyes. So you draw a circle in the big circle, and then you inside that one, you draw a tiny circle and another tiny one, and you fill in all of the bits that are kind of, you know what I mean. I don't need to tell you this. You can see with your eyes what I'm doing there. And that gives you that cute eye. Pop another eyebrow on top, and then I'll go on and I'll do the last one. So draw that circle, draw the smaller 2 circles inside, color in the stuff that isn't those 2 smaller circles, and pop an eyebrow on top. Now, Nikki has got a little sausage for a mouth. So it's a little tiny kind of sausage-shaped mouth like this. Sausage or a baked bean, I'm not entirely sure. And she, I'm not entirely sure what Nikki is, has got 2 teeth that come out from the bottom there. And again, I'm going to color in the stuff that isn't teeth. I'm guessing can everyone see this? Can you put in the comments if you're following along?
We've got a message from class P7 Canongate in St Andrews, who are definitely following along. But yeah, do let us know in the chat if you're following along and if you like Olaf's drawing so far.
So I put in these little lines here. It's almost like Nikki's got a kind of a beard going on. And we're going to do the ears. Nikki has teddy bear style ears. So it's like a bit like that with a little, almost like a little pip or a leaf in the middle, that kind of shape. And I'm going to do the other one. So a teddy bear style ear with another bit there. And now I'm going to draw the legs. I'm just going to do two very simple kind of sets of legs coming down there with two little sort of triangular feet, nice and simple. Now, you can draw the hands, the arms and the hands, doing whatever you would like them to do. But if you find it difficult to draw hands, here's a little hack for you. And I like this. You just put the hands as though they're going behind the monster's back. So you almost make them like the mug of a teacup. And you do that there, and you do that there. And it looks like Nicky is stood with his hands behind his back. And now all we need to do is a tail, which is like a curly kind of tail, almost like a snake. And then pop a little pom-pom on the end. There you go. And that is Nicky. And I'm going to give Nicky a quick caption. I'm going to sign it as well. I always like to sign when I've done a good monster. There you go. So that's my name, Olaf Falafel. Not my real name, by the way. That is a stage name. My real name is Derek Chickpeas, in case you're wondering. You can Google that, it's true. And I'm going to draw this one saying, "Hi, kids," with a big exclamation mark at the end, and then pop a big speech bubble. Oh, my pen is really running out. I think we've just got there. And if you do your monsters at home or at school or wherever you happen to be, do get your teachers to share them with us, because me and Andy, we're on Twitter and Instagram and all of those kind of things, and we love to see all of your drawings and all of your writing as well. So if you do any writing or any drawings, I'm going to hand you back to Andy, because I'm just looking at my watch and thinking, oh, we're running out of time. But that has been really good. Let me flip my camera back round, and then, oh, I've not flipped my camera back round.
I will.
And there we go. And back over to Andy.
There you go. I'm back in charge. I'm going to just try something now, because I couldn't see Olaf and Zoe before, and I like to see them. Now, if I present like this, is it awful, or shall I just fill the screen with my presentation? What do we think?
On the screen.
Yeah, let's
Full screen.
be nice and clear. Go full screen.
Yeah.
Boom. There we go. And if I was in the same room as you, I would have given you this page of wonderful monsters from the book for you to inspire you to draw your own. As you can see, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, but this is the monster that Olaf just drew for us. Right, we're going to talk about stories. Before we do, I think we'll do a little exercise now to warm up our creative writing muscles. Does anybody know where the creative writing muscles are? Zoe, have you got any ideas?
My guess would be somewhere in your hands, considering you're going to hold
There
it
are three
in.
sets of writing muscles. You've got one of them. The second is in your brain. Olaf, you know where the third set of writing muscles are, don't you?
I do. Your bum.
They're in your bum. You've got to sit down to write. So it's very important that you warm up your bum, your hands, and your head. You will be glad to know that this exercise is just about warming up your head. And we're going to use one of my favorite little monsters. He's called What If. Doesn't say much, just 2 words. What if? But they're very powerful words, and they help us come up with all kinds of story ideas if we just bring our creative monsters in, daydream a little, and ask ourselves. Best way to explain is by giving you an example. I'm going to come up with a what if, and we'll see if you or Olaf or Zoe can guess what story began with this what if. What if there was a school entirely for witches and wizards?
Oh, I know that one. That could be Harry Potter.
What else could it be? The Worst Witch.
Oh yeah, the Worst Witch.
The Worst Witch. That's a good choice. I don't know if anyone watching has any other thoughts about stories with witches and wizards.
I'll give you another one. All right. See if perhaps maybe some people in the chat want to see if they can answer. What if your toys came alive when nobody was watching? This is a film, not a book.
Oh, we've had
Yes.
story,
Some
lots
really
of Toy
quick
Story.
ones.
Oh,
Have you got one,
loads
Olaf?
of Toy Stories.
I mean, that's an easy one, really. Here you go. Here's a slightly tougher one. What if your nanny was magical?
I can think of one. Is there any in the chat?
Yes.
Oh, a lot. Oh, Mary Poppins
Yeah.
was one, but a lot of Nanny
A
McPhee's.
lot of Nanny McPhee's and a lot of Mary Poppins, which both work.
Yeah. And you see what's interesting is when you get more than one answer, it tells you that just because a what if has been done before, it doesn't mean it can be done again. I'll give you one more example to make the point. What if a bear could talk?
Talking bears.
Talking about, well, I can think of one straight away. Yes, Paddington. I can see it coming up in the chat.
Jungle Book, Winnie the
Jungle
Pooh.
Book. That's a good one. Winnie the Pooh,
Yeah.
of course.
Rupert Bear,
Rupert.
Dr. Dolittle, The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
So
Couple more Jungle
and it's an important point. I never want you to look at something and say, it's been done. You know, if you think about it in a different way, it can be done again. So let's talk a little bit about how to build a story. You can't build a story without this very first important thing. If we were in a classroom again, you'd probably shout out, and I am sure one of you would tell me we need a hero. By hero, I don't mean somebody with muscles and a cape, somebody that can fly, somebody with special powers, although we can build stories around those sorts of characters. When we talk about stories, the hero is the main character in your story, and it needs to be somebody that we believe in, that we care about, and that we can cheer along. How do we do that? It's not easy. The first thing we do is we've got to make sure that character, that hero, feels real. And we do that by giving them a personality. Your personality is all of the little things that make you you. They're your hopes and your dreams, your fears, your strengths, your ambitions, just the funny little individual things that make you you. We call them traits. And in the book, Olaf illustrated about 80 traits.
72.
72, there you go. He will forever remember that number. And here's just some of them. Guilty, somebody who talks to themselves, somebody who can't sleep, somebody who's trusting or secretive or thoughtful. And when you sit down to write a story, it's really good practice to think about your character just for a few minutes and think, what are the 3 or 4 traits that really define them and make them real? Because they will become very important when you start to progress through your story. So always set yourself the task of making your character feel real. Now, as well as a few personality traits, the most important thing a character needs is a goal. And that's got nothing to do with football or rugby or hockey. A goal is a story goal, and it's something that your character really wants or really needs. It can be something big, like wanting to save the world, or something more everyday, like wanting to make a new friend. The important thing is it has to be something they really, really want to do. Now, here's my character, and her goal is to climb a mountain. Now, that might sound like an interesting thing to do, and it certainly is a good way to spend a day, but it's not necessarily a good story goal. Why? Well, because people climb mountains every day. My character needs to have a reason, and it better be a good one, something that will keep her going when the going gets tough, because the going always gets tough in a story. Let's say my character is climbing this mountain just because it feels like a nice thing to do. And suddenly the weather turns horrible, freezing cold, rain, snow, sleet, hailstones. Will she keep going if her reason is just because? Probably not. If she's sensible, she'll go home and have a bowl of soup and watch a nice movie on TV. But if she has a good reason, then she's going to keep going. And that's what I want you to help me with now. I want you to help me think of a reason why somebody might want to climb a mountain and more importantly, why they'd keep going if the going gets tough. Do we have anything in the comments?
Let's give it a moment. So someone said fundraising. To rescue a loved one, that's a really nice one. To get to the top of the highest mountain, to save their family. Oh, another one saying family stuck. Lots of people imagining stuck families. To get rid of fear of heights.
That is wonderful.
To find a golden egg. I like that one.
Yeah.
Or a Yeti, to find a Yeti. That one's a bit scarier, but also great. To escape COVID. I like that one. Very, very timely.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful. We're already writing stories. You're writing stories.
Yeah, loads of brilliant ideas coming through in the chat.
I'm gonna show you my character's personality before we go any further. I said we should give the character some personality traits. Here are my character's personality traits. She's observant, she's scared of heights, she likes to draw, and she loves gardening. Now, if your character's reason for doing something can come out of their personality, then that can really enrich the story. It doesn't have to. Like if they want to go and find a golden egg, that is brilliant. So it doesn't. So that the reason doesn't have to come from here. But if you're stuck, you might find something in here. So, for example, if we look at the fact that my character likes to draw, now what might her reason be for climbing a mountain? Olaf, do you want to help me out here?
She might be wanting to climb the mountain to paint the view that can only be seen from a certain side of that mountain.
Exactly, right? Or what if she loves gardening?
Oh, perhaps there's like a magical flower that she needs to find. Brilliant. And it only grows at the top of the mountain, and Brilliant. She needs it to save her mum. There you go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's try that out. We've got a reason now. We've got somebody climbing a mountain. Let's see if it makes a story. Once upon a time, a lady decided to climb a mountain because there was a magical flower growing at the top that had special properties that she was going to use to cure her mum. A storm happened. The clouds turned dark. Thunder boomed. Lightning flashed. Hailstones as big as pebbles bounced off the ground and stung her in the legs and hands and face. Our mountaineer thinks about going home and having a bowl of soup. But then she remembers her reason. She has to find a magical plant, or the golden egg, or rescue her family, or find the Yeti. So she keeps on going. This feels a bit more like a story, doesn't it? She gets to the top, the end. Actually, that kind of seemed a little thin, didn't it, towards the end? It got good for a while, and then it just fizzled out. What was the best thing about that story? Would anybody like to guess, or to tell me what felt like the best thing to them? I'll go back a slide.
That she kept going.
The storm.
The storm, someone said.
Both of those things. You know, the fact that she kept going was, you know, made us like the character. But the storm was very dramatic. If you imagine this as a movie, that would be quite a scene. And both of those things, the fact that she kept going and the fact that there was a storm, they're both connected to the fact that we'd created a problem. And this is the third thing we need to make a story. We have a hero now with a goal, and we've created a problem. Here's my problem, though. I don't think that storm was such a big deal. You know, it wasn't great. It wasn't nice. But I think we could probably come up with some bigger, more interesting problems for somebody climbing a mountain. And that's where I need your help now. So can we have some ideas in the chat? What kind of problems might my character have on her mission to climb a mountain and find a golden egg, a secret plant?
We've already got some people saying a Yeti shows up, an avalanche, being chased by a bear. So lots of scary animals going on.
Avalanche again, yeah.
I love it. Lots of natural disasters happening. a mountain lion, a rock slide. These are all really great answers.
This is great.
Volcano.
A volcano. This is wonderful. What you're doing now, by the way, is what I'm doing here. Writing. You see, there's more to writing than just banging away on your keyboard or scribbling on your pad. Writing is about thinking. It's about creating characters, making them feel realistic, inventing goals for them, dreaming up problems that are going to get in their way. So we're doing good. We're writing. Whilst I was dreaming up problems for my mountaineer, I came up with something. I didn't see anybody come up with it before, but that's because your ideas were better than mine. I'm going to show you what problem I came up with my character, because the point is, problems don't always have to be big. They can be small too. Did you see what happened there? She lost her map. We've got a storm, it's windy, the map is blown out of her hands. All of a sudden, my character is lost. Does she go home? No, of course she doesn't. Because she has something important she needs to achieve. She's got to find the egg, find the plant, find the Yeti. She will persevere. And that is the fourth thing we need. We need a hero with a goal and a problem that they struggle to overcome. Because when our characters struggle, they become a special type of character. They really do grow into the hero that we need then. They become somebody that we care about. We want them to succeed. We admire their bravery and their courage. So we need to find a way for my character to deal with her problem of a lost map. She's stuck, but she's not going home because she's a hero. Can you help me out here? How are we going to get her down? How are we going to help her find her way? Have we got any ideas?
Ideas for how she's going to find her way. She can jump, someone says. The Yeti helps her, so with the return of the Yeti. She could get some friends to help her, follow her footprints, use a compass.
These are great. I love the fact that you're all getting your head into this. I'm going to move on to the next slide, because I'm going to share a very, very special storytelling tip with you now, and it's one that's particularly useful in situations like this. It's getting a character to face their fears. Now, when a character is forced to face their fears to achieve their goal, it proves to us how important the goal is to them. Let's say we put them in a situation where that terrifies them. They have a choice now, don't they? They can run away from their fear and go home, or they can face it to achieve their goal. If they face their fear, it tells us the goal is very important. It also tells us our character is very brave, and that will make us care for them and cheer for them and get behind them. And I think you might remember at the start, I said, what makes a character a hero is turning them into somebody we believe in, and getting them to face their fears is a great way of doing this. Now, I wonder if any of you have seen the Indiana Jones films. I know that Olaf has, he loves them. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana is he's an archaeologist and an adventurer and a hero. And in the first film, he has to find some lost treasure. He tracks it down to a big, scary cave called the Well of Souls. There's a problem though. Olaf, help us out. What is Indiana Jones's worst fear?
Jacket potato. No, sorry, that's me. Snakes.
He's terrified of snakes. He's super brave. He'll fight anybody. He'll jump out of planes. He'll cross rickety bridges. But snakes terrify him. So when he finds this treasure that he's been looking for, the cave is also full of snakes. Does Indiana Jones go home? No. He's a hero. He jumps in and he faces his fears. So now as we know about facing our fears, let's go back and look at my character's personality. She's observant, she's scared of heights, she likes to draw, she loves gardening. What is her fear? She's afraid of heights. So we've got lots of ways we can help her solve the problem of being lost, but can we find a way to help her solve her problem through facing her fear? through facing her fear of heights. Do we have any ideas in the chat?
How would you get over a fear of heights? See what people say.
She doesn't have to get over it. She just has to face it.
Deep
We've got
breathing, not looking down.
Ferris wheel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What was that one? Say it again, please.
Going
Go
on.
on a Ferris wheel.
Yeah. Or take
So
a
I'm not
parachute
so much
jump.
interested in, I'm not exactly looking for a way for her to cure herself of a fear of heights. I want her to face it and deal with it. Now, where is she? She's up a mountain, covered in tall trees. How about this? How about my character climbs a tree so she can get a view over the entire mountain and find out where she's going? Does she want to climb that tree? Absolutely not. Does she need to get to the top of the mountain to find the golden egg? Yes, she does. So she climbs the tree and faces her fear. We like her now. But what else can she do? Now she's up there, this character that likes to draw, that's observant. Let's say she's found the way. What else might she do now that she's at the top of the tree?
Perhaps because she likes to draw, perhaps now she's up the tree and she can see for quite a way, she draws a map of where she needs to go next so she can get down from the tree and then go in that direction.
Yeah, we've got lots of people in the chat saying the same thing, drawing a map. Good idea.
That's absolutely brilliant. All right, I've got another question for everybody else out there. Let's say she remembered to bring a pen, but she doesn't have any paper. What's she going to draw the map on?
Ooh, tricky.
I do it on my hand.
There you go. But now here's a question for you, Olaf. Let's say you've got a map drawn on your hand and you have to cross a wild stream, a big flowing river. What might happen to that map?
I'm guessing it would probably get all smudged and washed off and just be like
exactly
unreadable.
Do you know, what we're doing here, as soon as we're solving one problem, we're creating another. Because now as my character's up here and she's found her way, the story has a problem of its own. It's become a little bit boring again. So what we need to do to keep it moving is always be creating more problems. You've already given me tons of problems, bears and landslides and avalanches. I'm going to show you the problems that I came up with. My character lost her map, so she climbed a tree, facing her fears, to find the way. Realizes she doesn't have paper, draws the map on her hand. Okay, she's ready to go. She starts to climb back down the tree, but remember, she's afraid of heights. She begins to feel a bit dizzy, falls, and twists her ankle. What do we do when we twist our ankles? Don't know about you, but I would scream. Did you know that if you scream when you're in a mountain, a snowy mountain, it can cause an avalanche? That's exactly what's happened here. So my character and her created monster start running from the avalanche. They find a cave to hide in. Finally, they feel safe. But because it's my job as a writer to keep creating problems, this is no ordinary cave. This is the home of a Yeti. Now, you may or may not have noticed that all of those problems were connected. We could throw all kinds of problems at our characters. I could have had a spaceship come and start firing lasers at her, but it would feel maybe a bit random to you. It's kind of come out of nowhere and it might be confusing. You might say, wait, what? You might not believe me, which is terrible for a story. But if I keep everything connected, one thing leading to another, the lost map, the sprained ankle, the scream, the avalanche, the Yeti, then your readers come along with you and they will believe whatever you put in front of them, even if it contains Yetis. Which brings us here. What now? Well, now this story is yours. I'm giving it to you. You've written it with me. You've come up with wonderful problems. You've helped me figure out how our character will struggle. What we have to do now is keep going. She's not at the top of the mountain yet. And I would love it if you went away and wrote this story. You could start right here when she's in front of the Yeti. You could go back to the beginning and write everything we've talked about. Maybe you want to change the character. Maybe it's a man. Maybe it's a talking bear. Maybe you want to give them your own reason for getting to the top of the mountain. Maybe it's not a mountain. Maybe this adventure is set in a jungle or a city in the sky. The point is, I want you to own it and to make it yours. Remember, create a hero with a goal, give them problems, and watch them struggle all the way to the end. And whatever else you do, don't forget to unleash your creative monster. Which brings us to the end of the presentation. So I am going to stop sharing my screen somehow. Whoops, cancel. Have I stopped?
Yep, you're all good. Lovely. Cool.
Can I just say, when you were talking there, Andy, with the Yeti up, there was a comment from Billy saying it looked like Donald Trump in 20 years.
I think you need to pick up on that, Olaf.
Yeah.
There's a funny story about that, isn't there?
Well, the Yeti, there's the Yeti. Can you see the Yeti? When I was drawing these pictures, I was watching a lot of Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares. So this Yeti wasn't Donald Trump. It was actually based on Gordon Ramsay. So that's who the Yeti was meant to look like. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if any of the kids at home know who Gordon Ramsay is. I'm sure you do know about Tilly Ramsay. But yeah, that's who the Yeti was meant to be.
I can definitely see Gordon Ramsay in there now that you mention it.
And I've been colouring in my little drawing as well whilst Andy was speaking. So
oh my goodness,
I've used all my crayons to colour in.
That would take me all day to do.
That looks great. If anyone's done a drawing in class, and teachers or librarians, if you'd like to send them in, then please do take some photos and email them to us. And we'd love to see your drawings as well. That's brilliant. Cool. I think we might be ready to move on to a Q&A. Andy and Olaf, are you ready to hear some questions from children?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Brilliant. So thank you so much to everybody who has put their answers in the chat already. There were so many there. And there were so many brilliant ones as well. Even if we didn't get to read them out, we saw them all and we thought they were fantastic. So brilliant creative thinking from everybody. We're now going to do a Q&A. So if anybody has a question for Andy or Olaf, then your teacher or your librarian, or if you're on the computer yourself, then you can put them in the chat box and we will answer as many as we can. So I've seen a question come through now, which says, what's your favourite book? Olaf, I don't know if you want to start us off there.
My favourite book? Well, at the minute, I'm really loving, and I'm going back and reading them all. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're called Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I've got loads of them. And I'm even reading Rowley's diaries as well. So these are really funny. I really like them.
Brilliant. Andy, what's your favourite book?
It changes day to day. You know, I read a lot. I was about to say I like Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie, but that's a big book, and I don't think it would necessarily
might be a little bit off for the kids watching, but definitely one to read.
But I loved Dracula and Frankenstein when I was young, and you know, I think I always loved scary stories. So anything scary will always appeal to me.
Lovely, brilliant. So somebody
I've seen a quite challenging question that I think.
Oh, go on.
Well, somebody said, "Why bother with a hero?" And I wish the person that asked that question was in front of me, so I could ask them to tell me a little bit more about where that question came from. So I kind of have to guess at what you're thinking, but the answer to as I understand it, is you need to have a story has to happen to somebody or several people. You get some stories with multiple characters and multiple heroes. But if we write a story that's just about somebody, say something funny happens to them, that's fine, and that's an interesting scene. But for us to stay with somebody for 100 pages, for example, or 200 pages, we've got to really form a relationship with that person. We've got to like them, and we've got to get to know them. So when I say hero, I just want to say again, I don't mean somebody with superpowers. They can be they can be a normal person just like us. It's just a kind of writer's word for main character. And it's just important that they feel human, even if they're a bear. You know, they have to feel realistic. They have to have a personality and something that they are prepared to fight for or to struggle for. That's what I mean by hero. And I think if you look at your favorite stories, I'll bet you'll find that they have one.
Brilliant. I think that's a great answer.
Helps.
Definitely, that sounds great. So quite a few people have asked, so I'm going to merge some questions into one because quite a few people have asked it. So for both of you, what inspired you to do what you do, and how long have you been doing it for? So Andy, I don't know if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, I will, because Olaf's answer is better than mine. I've always been a reader. I've always loved books, and I always was drawn to them and thought, wouldn't it be great to write? But I never thought I could. You know, I just assumed it was something that other people, not me, did. And it wasn't until I was 40 that I started writing stories and novels, because I worked in advertising. My job was to write adverts for television. And after I'd written quite a few of those, I thought, why don't I write a proper story, something that's not selling soap powder or burgers? So I wrote a few short stories, and I got really addicted to it. And I wrote more and more and more. And eventually it sort of wasn't my choice anymore. I just had to do it. And look, I was lucky enough to stick with it and get some books published. So kind of a boring answer. Olaf's is better, like I said.
So mine, I don't know if you can see, that is me when I was 5 or 6. I mean, that's probably, you can see it now, can't you? That's what I look like now. And I used to, in the school playground. So my dad, he worked in a place that had a photocopier. And I used to draw my own comics, and I would give them to my dad to take them to his work, and he would photocopy them. That is an actual one of my first ever comics. It's called Bullseye.
No way.
Yeah, and I would sit there and draw them, and I'd take them to my dad, and he's got there he is with his photocopier, and I would then sell them in the school playground, and I would use all of the money that I made to buy sweets. And that was when I first started getting into illustrating and writing stories and coming up with funny stuff, really. And the school dinner ladies banned me from doing it. I mean, the school dinner ladies at my school, they were quite fierce. But I just thought, oh, this could be a really fun thing to carry on doing. And I just carried on doing it ever since. And I've kind of tried to make people laugh through drawings ever since.
Lovely, brilliant. That's a great story. So somebody from Edward Peak School has asked, do your children test out your stories for you as you're creating them?
Yeah, we do. With this book, I should have some pictures to show you, but my daughters read every single page of the book as I wrote it, and they would give me feedback like, this is boring, take it out, or this is confusing, make it better, or my youngest daughter, Evie, you've spelt Chekhov wrong. So, you know, they gave me, you know, and I'm proud of the book. You know, everybody that's had it seems to like it and enjoy it. And I think it's down to the fact that it has been tested on live humans as it's being written.
Brilliant, yeah.
Exactly the same. I'm drawing, I think I said before, I'm drawing a book at the moment. It's my kind of chapter book. And it's got to a point where there's a chapter where the school basketball team are all being sick in the middle of a game. And I'm running all of the drawings past my two daughters. So you can see there's one where I've had to draw lots and lots. There's one where he's being sick, and he looks, there's a simile in it that says he looks like one of those posh fountains with a statue in, except instead of water, it's sick coming out. And that's that drawing there. So there's lots and lots of those, and I do test them on my kids. And if they don't like it, they'll let me know, because the one thing with kids, as I've always found out, they are brutally honest, and they will tell you. If they don't like something, they will tell you. Whereas some adults,
even if my girls don't actually say, this is boring me, I just see them, I just see their eyes drifting away. And they go, no, 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 it's, you know, it's not that bad, Daddy. You go, yeah, it's bad.
Oh, it's good they're not too harsh critics. That's good. So somebody, I can't remember who it was, apologies, they're all going by so quickly in the chat, but somebody asked a really good question, which is, what would your superpower be if you had one?
Wow.
Oh, damn it. This is, you know, you can't just make a quick decision on this. This is something you want to like. I mean, it's tempting to just, I'm going to go super strength.
Super
Smashing stuff, picking stuff up. Yeah.
Mine would be the ability to turn whatever I touch, but not like King Midas, be able to switch it off. So perhaps there's a button or something, or a magic glove that whenever I touch something with that magic gloves, it turns into peanut butter chocolate.
That's a good one.
I mean, that's a very specific one, but I like it a lot. Right, next question. Actually, this is one for Olaf, and it's from Amberley School, and they ask what your favourite monster is. Maybe either one that you've created or just your favourite monster.
Ooh. Well, I'll tell you who I do like, and that is the one who's on the cover. I mean, you can see his silhouette there, but if you actually look inside the book, let me quickly get to the page where he introduces himself. He is called Jeff. He is one of my favorites. But I think my favorite one that I've drawn in the whole book is the one who he has got a beard and he's got a funny little hat. Come on, where are you? There he is. I'm going to have to hold this one up to the camera so you can see him. Can you see that one there? Or am I a bit blurred?
I can see him. You know, is he based on yourself, Olaf?
He's kind of, yeah. I was thinking I've got to have one with a beard and a little hat, and he's actually got stripy legs as well. So he's kind of sort of a little bit of things that I like or look like. And I don't think he's got a name, so I might call him Olaf. Or I might not. I might call him Derek.
Brilliant.
Yes, yes.
So somebody called Matilda has asked how you two met, and then somebody else asked how you kind of started working together.
Well, we actually met because we were working together in the same advertising agency. So I can't even remember what we were doing. We were trying to come up with an advert or a radio advert or a jingle or some poster or something for something really boring. And I think at the time we were both sat there and I think we both said, this is really boring. And then we just started talking about what exciting things we could be doing instead of being sat here trying to come up with an ad for dishwasher tablets.
Yeah, we did. And, you know, we would, and then we'd talk all day about writing and about comedy and about stories. And then, like I said, about a couple of years ago, when I had this idea for the book, I have something called an agent. Olaf has an agent too. We write books, but we're rubbish at selling. Well, actually, Olaf's not that rubbish at selling them, but our agents take them to publishers and help us get our books made. So I phoned up my agent and said, I've got an idea for a kid's guide to writing. It's going to be called Unleash Your Creative Monster. And he said, we need somebody to illustrate this. You know, before we approach publishers, do you know anybody brilliant and funny? And I said, I don't, but I know this guy called Olaf.
Hey.
And, so I sent it to Olaf, and luckily Olaf loved it too. And so we approached the publisher as a team, and the rest is today, history.
Lovely. That sounds great. Somebody has asked how long it takes you to create a book.
Well, it depends on the book, obviously. This one, I probably wrote it, if you add all the bits together, in 6 months of solid writing, but that was broken up with other jobs and projects. Then it goes to the publishers, and there's a man there, a designer, who decides what's going to go on what page, and he leaves space for images. And then it goes to Olaf, and then Olaf drew so many pictures and cartoons that will have taken him months and months and months and months. And then it all has to go and get printed. So from start to finish, this book has been about 2 years, but in actual kind of hands on the keyboard, it probably took me 6 months.
And I was probably the same with the drawing. It was probably the same. So it was I remember drawing all these monsters because it was during the very first lockdown we had. And all of my comedy gigs, so actually going out to clubs and doing stand-up comedy in front of people, they all got cancelled. So it was quite lucky that all of that work had gone and got cancelled, but I did have all of this drawing that I needed to do. So I did have a lot of time to do it.
Lovely, that sounds great. So Joseph has asked Olaf, what made you want to become a comedian?
Truth,
being incredibly funny and wanting to put those talents to good use.
well, I didn't think I was that funny, but I used to work in a place, and the guy who sort of worked with me, he wasn't my boss, but he was kind of in a different department, and I'd always make him laugh. And then he said to me, oh, I've got a comedy night that I'm putting on to raise money for it was his cricket club. He said, do you want to come along? And I came along, and he actually said to me, you know what, you're quite funny, you should try doing this. And I thought, nah, I couldn't do this. And he went, yeah. And he kind of basically dared me to do it. So I gave it a try, and I quite enjoyed it, and I quite liked it, and it went quite well. And then I've just carried on doing it, and it's kind of got better and bigger. And I mean, it was sort of a dare from someone that I worked with, basically.
That's always a good reason to start doing something with a dare. So Hedworth Field School, sorry.
There's no better reason.
No better, exactly. So Hedworth Field School have asked, what's the book that you're most proud of having either written or illustrated or both?
This one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've written a bunch of novels, and I love them all. You know, it's like your children. Every time a new one comes along, you think, this is the one. But I think this is something that is, you know, it's doing a good thing. It's inspiring people. I'm really proud of it. It turned out brilliant.
I think this is the one, or this is certainly, I know what you're saying about the most recent one is always your favorite, and this is the most recent one. But I've got a feeling with this one, it is the one that I would have liked to have had underneath my pillow at night when I was 8 or 9, because there's so many funny little bits in there, and there's so many interesting tidbits of information and hints and tips. And it is the sort of thing that I think will really kind of last the test of time. So I think this will be useful today, and it'll be useful in 10 years time as well. And also, it's not just for kids. It's really useful
I was
for me.
thinking, literally yesterday, I was thinking I would have loved this book as a 10-year-old, and if only I could find a way to get it to young me, you know, I would have started writing a lot sooner, I think.
Brilliant. Great, thank you. So again, I'm going to merge a couple of questions together. So somebody asked, if you were to make a guess, how many books do you think you have in your home? And then kind of second part to that, how many books do you think you've read in your entire life?
Wow. Well, my house is full of books. I should probably pick up my computer and walk around and show you, but we had some new bookshelves built last year, which are my pride and joy. I buy books faster than I can read them. I try and read, you know, between 3 and 4 books a month. So what's that, you know, 30, 40 books a year. So I must have read several hundred books, maybe even 1,000. I don't know. I'm a bookworm. What can I tell you?
Wow, 1,000 books. That's something to aspire to, definitely. How about you, Olaf? Do you have a house full of books?
I mean, I've got I don't know if you can see, I've got like a big stack here of books that I'm going through at the moment. Because I'm writing this book of my own, I need lots of inspiration. So my house at the minute is like a cross between, so this is where I do all of my art. So I've got loads of pens and stuff, but I've also got loads and loads of books that I'm reading at the moment. So yeah, tons and tons. I think the best way, if you're going to write a book, the best way is to read lots of books.
100%.
Good advice.
That's what creative monsters feed on, books.
Brilliant, great advice. So I've just seen a really good question from Amelia, and she has asked, if you were a hero in your own story, what traits would you use to describe yourself?
I would say for me, funny, but then also possibly, what's the word? Egotistical. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a great trait.
That basically means that I like everyone to think I'm the best, sort of.
I think we're all probably a little bit
I would say I would be needy. You know, I need people to tell me what I'm doing is good. That's probably why I write stories. Look what I did. Look what I did. And I'm stubborn. I'm really stubborn. And I think if you want to be an author or an illustrator, you need a bit of stubbornness, because you've got to keep going. You've got to say, you know, that's your goal, isn't it? And you've got to be prepared to struggle and struggle and struggle, and not listen to anybody that tells you you can't do it.
Tell you what, I think was quite interesting there with both me and Andy. We both listed off a couple, and there was one good one and one bad one, which I think always helps to make a rounded character. And I mean, stubborn, I think actually you're right, it's a positive characteristic. It can be a negative one, but I guess with all, funny can be positive. But if you ask my other half of my kids, funny can also be very negative.
I mean, talking about stories, it's a great point that you make. You know, a character that's just every trait they have is good would just get a little bit samey, a bit boring. And likewise, you know, we don't want to create villains that are just relentlessly evil. You know, a villain that is really nice to his dog, for example, or his mum, you know, suddenly has a human side and a goodie that perhaps has that little stubborn streak, or, you know, that makes them more human, more interesting. It gives you stuff to play with when you're writing. If you get stuck somewhere, you think, well, what's their personality like? Oh yeah, they love their dog. I'll do a dog scene or whatever.
Brilliant. No, I think that turned into a really good writing tip as well. Thank you. So I think I'm gonna wrap up with one final question. And this is one that a few people have asked, and it's to Olaf. And a few people have asked if you could tell another joke or tell your favourite joke.
I mean, I've got quite a few jokes. There's one at the minute. I don't know whether you kids will kind of get the reference, but it's, what do rock and roll pandas eat? Oh up, babaloo up, oh up, bamboo. But also, here you go. This is one of my favourite ones as well. What do you call a man with no body, just a big nose? Nobody knows.
Brilliant, thank you. I hope everybody who asked for another joke is satisfied.
Do you want one more? One more.
Okay, round off with a third one.
One more joke. What do Mars, Saturn, and Neptune do when they want to meet up? Planets.
Oh, come on, I love it.
Brilliant, thank you. I think that was a great way to round off. Thank you so much. So yeah, thank you so much, Andy and Olaf, for today's event, and thank you so much everybody who joined us this morning and for all your fantastic questions. I'm sorry we couldn't get through all of them, but there were loads of brilliant ones there.
I just if you want to ask us a question on Twitter, then you'll find us at All Your Monsters. So you can always ask us a question there, and we'll try and get back to you if you find a grown-up that can get you on there.
Brilliant. Do you want to repeat that, Andy? How to get in touch on Twitter?
So we're on Twitter and Instagram, and our account is All Your Monsters. ALLYOUR Monsters. All Your Monsters.
Brilliant.
So send us pictures of the monsters. Ask us questions. That's what the account is there for, so that we can connect with you.
Brilliant, thank you. So teachers and librarians, you can find out more about Andy and Olaf by visiting their websites, which are andyjoneswrites.com and olaffalafel.com. Unleash Your Creative Monster, a children's guide to writing, is out now and available to buy in bookshops and online. And if you'd like to find out more about the Reading Agency and what we do, as well as future events for children, then you can head to our website, which is readingagency.org.uk. So thank you so much again to our brilliant guests, Andy Jones and Olaf Falafel, and everybody who's been watching. We hope you got lots of brilliant tips for creating stories and that you enjoy writing and drawing them. So thanks so much, everyone, and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.